Welcome to this Quick Take Rapid Learning module. Today's topic, selling to buyers who hate to spend money. Sometimes prospects who should be saying yes just can't. They have authority, need, urgency, and money. They tell you that your proposal offers good value. They may even agree that they should buy from you, but they just can't pull the trigger. It's almost as if contemplating the act of buying causes them physical pain. So, is there a way to get buyers like these unstuck? In this quick take, you will learn why some buyers are so reluctant to say yes, and why this reluctance doesn't necessarily mean there's a problem with your value proposition. Which customers and prospects are most likely to have trouble pulling the trigger, and 2 simple techniques you can use to help them get unstuck without twisting their arms or using manipulative tricks. Sales can get stuck for many reasons. Sometimes buyers aren't properly qualified. Sometimes their situation has changed. Sometimes they're not being straight with you. But some buyers simply have a psychological aversion to spending money. There's a scientific term for such people: tightwads. Research shows that for approximately 1 person in 3, the idea of spending money actually does cause something like physical pain. This reaction has nothing to do with perceived value or need. In fact, tightwads themselves say they should spend more, but avoid buying decisions because of the anticipatory pain associated with spending. And because it's the idea of spending itself that's so painful, they're likely to be as uncomfortable spending their company's money as their own. Researchers have identified 2 simple strategies that can help you diminish this pain and get these buyers to say yes. Let's take a closer look. A major study on buying behavior, published in the Journal of Consumer Research, surveyed more than 13,000 people about their attitudes towards spending money. For example, asking whether spending money makes them anxious or makes them happy. Based on the responses, the researchers ranked people on a spendthrift tightwad scale. They found that people tended to fall into one of 3 clusters, each roughly equal in size. People in the spendthrift cluster reported that they got emotional pleasure from buying. Those on the tightwad end of the spectrum experience anxiety and emotional pain associated with the act of spending money. Unconflicted buyers were essentially neutral. Spending caused neither pain nor pleasure. The researchers also found that tightwads themselves acknowledge their reluctance to spend and admit their anxiety keeps them from buying things they want or need. So, which of your buyers are most likely to be tightwads? Among women, the split between tightwads and spendthrifts was about even. Men, on the other hand, were 2.5 times more likely to be tightwads than spendthrifts. Older people were found to be more tight-fisted, as were those with more education. People with degrees in engineering, computer science, and natural science were more likely to be tightwads. Those with degrees in the humanities, communications, and social work were more likely to be spendthrifts. Next, the researchers looked at ways to reduce the psychological pain that tightwads experience and get them to spend more. They found 2 effective approaches: framing purchases as small and emphasizing utility over pleasure. In one set of experiments, they framed a hypothetical shipping fee in 2 different ways: as a $5 fee or as a small $5 fee. Only about 7% of tightwads were willing to pay the $5 fee, but nearly 30% were willing to pay the small $5 fee. In another experiment, researchers framed a hypothetical massage session as hedonic, something the buyer would find enjoyable, or utilitarian, something that would help relieve back pain. About 20% of tightwads were willing to pay for a massage framed as hedonic. But when it was framed as utilitarian, 70% said they'd pay. You can apply these findings to get your buyers to feel more comfortable buying from you. That's especially important with tightwads, but there's really no downside in using these techniques with all of your buyers. Specifically, consider these techniques. 1. Frame your price in ways that mitigate the pain of buying. It could be as simple as using words like small or reasonable when presenting the price. Or you might show how your price compares favorably with other options. Even a major purchase can be presented as relatively small. For example, by focusing on cost per month or cost as a percentage of revenues. 2. Emphasize necessity. Frame the purchase decision as something that needs to be done. 3. Don't make a big deal about it. If you're comfortable talking about money, your buyer will be less anxious. Present the price in a calm, matter-of-fact way, and then move on to other elements of the deal. And 4, try to separate the buying decision from the act of spending. Don't push a contract across the desk for the buyer to sign. Get agreement first, and then get the contract signed. For example, you might simply ask, "Are we ready to get started on this?" Let's review what we've learned today. Some buyers, roughly 1 in 3, feel psychological pain about spending money. This anxiety doesn't mean they think your price is too high or your value is too low. Research shows that you can reduce their anxiety by framing the purchase as relatively small and as something that has to be done. Thanks for watching. Now return to the program page and take the quiz. Also, please take 15 seconds to click on the survey link and fill out an evaluation of this program.